Hi, I'm Enjoya from AJ Excursions.
Hi, I'm Naj from Freaking Fresh.
And
Hi.
together,
Oh, I'm sorry. I
are,
jumped the gun. Okay.
it's okay. Together we are
Village Vibez.
Welcome Home.
Welcome home. Kurya.
So, you can find me at AJ_excursions on Instagram and Joy AJ Excursions on Facebook.
You can find me at Natural Impressions, NATURALMPRESSIONS. Yes, it's long, Natural Impressions at IG. And you can hit me up at Freaking Fresh at Gmail.
So, as you can see, it's a third party up in here. We got a third party. So we have a guest. We have a guest. Drum roll. So, future doctor. Mrs.
Professor.
C. Graham. Come on board.
Come on in the room. Okay, good people. I was anxious. I thought it was double Dutch, even though I can't double Dutch. I jumped right in. You said your name, she said her name, and I was ready. So I just want to tell you both, thank you, beautiful women, for having me as a guest on your show today. I'm already a fan of Joy. So I know, Naj, I'm already about to be a fan of yours. Be sure to follow these beautiful ladies on all their social media endeavors. I got a vouch for Village Vibe, always showing up in my Instagram feed with all the great jewelry, about to make me broke. So. But I am here with my sisters. I am Takia C. Graham. I'm an English professor employed at Monroe Community College's downtown campus. And I am also the owner of Soul Sustainable Living. Check out the name below, Soul Sustainable Living. You can find me on Facebook under that same name, but I also have a website, www.soulsustainableliving.com. So you can see my other projects, my charitable work, which is Charity Rocks. You can find that on Facebook, Charity ROCS. I also have We All Write, WRITE, which is a consortium of dope Black female educators, writers. And so we go all around the world, poeting through our art, doing our activism. And I do a lot of different things, but you know, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and I'm a lover of Black people. And I'm just happy to be here on this platform talking to you today about fill in the blank. They're gonna let y'all know about that.
Put some respect on your name. Some respect.
Respect. Look, yes, period. So we are going to talk about self-care during COVID. Yes.
And beyond.
And self-care also during this last week of just riots, hurt, pain, anger, discomfort, Black Lives Matter, and any and everything else. So we're going to talk, that's our subject today. Self-care. So
for these times, these uncertain times and beyond, because you can't, as soon as things calm down, we cannot stop the self-care. It has to continue.
And sometimes we forget about self-care. Right. And I loved it because I text Tokia, Dr. Tokia, and I'm forgetting, she gotta get the respect on it, doctor. And I'm always like checking in, how are you doing? And she's like, I'm good, I'm fine. And we have to check in on one another and make sure that we are taking care of our own space and making sure our friends, family, elders are also taking care of themselves, because people are struggling.
Right.
Can I say that? Struggling. And I think this is a time where people are dealing with so many uncertainties, and it's being exacerbated by the crime and the hate and the racism that people are not aware. They're starting to crumble in front of us. And we have to make sure that they don't fall. And if they fall, we got to pick them up. So that's why we having this.
Seeing all of this angst outside of the home, we have to make sure that we take care of ourselves. In the midst of all this chaos, and people aren't going to take care of us. We have to make sure we build that wall, that protective wall to take care of ourselves. You know, a little self-preservation never hurt anyone. You know, okay. Really, and make sure that we teach our children how to self-care, because that's a coping mechanism, and it's a tool we're going to need in order to get through this. This is going to be a long process. You know, our fight for equality, the revolution that's coming. We're going to have a lot of self-care in order for us to be whole and be able to do the jobs that we need to do to make things work. But Miss Sustainable, I love the name. First of all, I had a nice little play on words. I need to know what's going on with sustainable living, and what is your take on this? What are your views, Doctor?
So one of the things that I always talk about is sustainable living. It's not just a movement, it's a lifestyle. And Joy had the chance to be on our radio show, which airs on Jazz 90.1 on Sundays at 8 a.m. And it also airs on Whale 104.3 FM on Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what we do with sustainable living is that it's a play on sustainability. And when we think about sustainability, we think about renewable energy sources. And about 10 years ago, I had this idea about people and the ways that we sort of regenerate our own energy. So a lot of people plug into me. I'm a source, a lighthouse of sorts for people. And I'm really concerned with the ways that Black people in particular are able to use the village concept and help each other, right? So when we think about sustainability, what it means simply is that how can I, as one individual, use the best of me to better each individual around me for the betterment of the village? Right. And so the things that I do in all of my life, I'm always concerned with equity and inclusion. I'm an equity and inclusion strategist as well. I go into organizations, usually institutions of education. I am working on a doctorate in higher education management because that's my field, but I work in PK through 20 organizations. And so what I do is I want to help organizations be very mindful of people, and not just people who might be represented in their institutions and their organizations, because we know that Black people and non-Black people of color are not necessarily present always in these spaces at great numbers. But we know that these organizations and institutions have a lot of power. So when I think about sustainable living, my role in this world in every endeavor that I do is to make that space better for Black people, and to make sure that we are able to be seen and actualized as full citizens and be able to take our power and use that power for the betterment of our communities. So where I'm at, I haven't been in my actual job since March, once we went down to remote learning. And I've been home with my family. I have 2 children at home. I have an older son who is a Marine. He's stationed in Japan. He just got back home into the States 2 weeks ago. So he's not in New York State yet. But my husband is here. He's working from home. My daughter, my middle child, just graduated from college. My youngest son is a senior. He'll be going to college, senior in college in August. And so we've been in this house together, and we've been trying to figure out what is considered this new normal. I'm hoping that it won't be the new normal, right? So what I've been doing is I've been trying to figure out a way to not lose myself in the midst of all the chaos, all the confusion. And my platform is one of self-care, and it's something that I take seriously. But I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just giving lip service, that I also was putting into practice the tools that I'm encouraging other people to use. So in a nutshell, I've been healing, and I've been doing my own self-work while I've been in the house.
Nice.
Okay. And so I think people sometimes think self-care is easy, and they think self-care, I used to think self-care was taking myself shopping.
Yeah, superficial things.
Right? That was my self-care. Every Sunday, I would go shopping, take myself out to dinner, and take myself to the movies, right? And to the point where if you went into any of my purses, you would see all these receipts, right? And to me, that was my self-care. It was self-care Sunday. You know, I went to the movies, I went shopping, I went to dinner, and I went nice restaurants by myself. And I really, 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 really believe that was self-care. Because I thought I was really care of myself. I thought I was feeding my needs, but I wasn't. I just was feeding my addiction to shopping. I was taking care of a need, but it was feeding the need of it was my addiction that I do have of shopping, right? And my addiction of eating and going out to eat. But it wasn't taking care of me holistically. It wasn't taking care of my mental state. It didn't stop me from feeling all these other things, anger, and it didn't help me deal with my anger when I had anger issues or any of that. So people don't know what self-care looks like.
I think that the blueprint for self-care is different for everyone. You know, like going to the movies, that is a form of self-care, especially if you're angry, which, let's talk about education. You understand? It's a cool down period. Like, come on, it's reflection. It's the time for you to just, you know, get centered. And that's okay. The issue is, you know, you said it was feeding an addiction. Okay, so if it wasn't feeding, if you're doing that and it's not to your detriment, it is a form of self-care. Like for me, going to the movies, that would be a form of self-care. I don't do that. I don't go to the movies by myself. I don't do those things. You know what I'm saying? But I think everyone has a different picture of what self-care looks like for themselves. I mean, and it goes beyond superficial, which is I think what we're going to scratch at. It goes beyond the hair, the clothes, you know, eyelashes, and buying shoes and movies, like, because that's the surface. Okay, but what's underneath, doctor?
And that's hard.
I think that, you know, I definitely agree that self-care is definitely a personal endeavor. What I try to do with my platform, I'm not a licensed therapist at all, but I know I have some skills that have benefited people as well as myself. I do a lot of what is called root work. I am very aware of the trauma that I've suffered in my life. I'm very aware of what is happening and what's going on in my body at all times. And so whenever I notice that something is off, my back is hurting, I'm not sleeping as well, my skin is breaking out, my stomach is upset, any of those physiological or physical sorts of things, I automatically know that I need to get right. Right? Being a Black woman in this country automatically comes with a high stress level. Being a wife, a mother, being an educator, I'm a doctoral student, I'm an entrepreneur. Those sorts of things are taxing, but I'm also a member of a village. And when we are concerned about the people around us, we also carry a lot of stress. Right? If I'm checking in, like Joy, you said you check in on me, I check in on you, I want to make sure that you're doing well. We have all these different hats that we're wearing. We carry stress within our bodies that we're not always able to articulate. So we wake up like, oh, I got a crick in my neck. I slept funny. 3 or 4 days later, we got a crick in our back, or something is wrong with our knee. We start limping, and we just think that it's something, we get old, or the mattress is wrong. And that might be a part of it. But there also are some things that our body has a memory, a molecular memory, that we're not always in touch with. So when I think about self-care, the superficial, we always need a balance. You know what I'm saying? You can't always just do whatever people consider right. You always have to have some other sort of balances, yin and its yang. And so for me, I was telling you all that typically, you know, my hair is this curly box top thing I have going on. And then I always have a face of makeup, but that's not how I've been in the house for these past 3 months. I've been in the house like this. I put a bra on today for y'all. You know what I'm saying? I took my shower as per usual, brushed my teeth, got Vaseline on my lips. I usually have my nails painted. When I go to school, when I go to work, I'm always perfectly coiffed. But I had to realize, I texted Joy last night, I said, oh, I'm going, and I got to do my hair, let me know what time. And then I had a moment of epiphany. And I said, how are you going to help somebody? As I say, get free, but we're not going to die trying. How are you going to help somebody if you coming on there artificial, talking about self-care, and you're not even presenting yourself in a manner that you've been operating in for the past almost 3 months? So self-care for me in a big way means being authentic. Being whatever I need to be for myself in a positive way that needs to show up. Even if it means I'm upset, even if it means I'm crying, even if it means that I just need to be quiet. So when we talk about sustainable living, it is a lifestyle because it simply means that at every moment that I am conscious, that I am possible, that I am able, I try to be in tune with who and how I am and how my interactions with others impact our global village, right? So go to the movies, eat your food. You talk about an addiction, go see a therapist. Do the things that you have to do to work those things out. But once you learn, you got to share it with somebody else. You got to tell somebody else what else you have going on, how you are working through those things, because so many times we find a prescription, we find the antidote, we find a cure, or we're not even honest about the journey. So I'm in this house, I'm sleeping all upside down. I'm doing all sorts of things. I reach out to my sisters. Sis, you know, I'm feeling some kind of way. I'm getting up a lot later. I'm not necessarily, you know, my daughter Kaylani is good. She'll say, okay, where you got to be? I said, oh, I ain't got to be nowhere. You mean I can stay up late? I don't got to be on a regular sleep pattern where I was going to bed when I actually was going into my job, as long as I'm still accomplishing my goals because my day is twisted.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And that becomes a form of self-care.
And it's funny because a friend of mine, I go for a walk every single day or 5 to 6 days a week. And we walked like 4-point-something miles. And I was fussing because I was like, I bought me a pair of sneakers and I bought me a pair of new cowboy boots. And I was real happy with this. And my friend was like, so where you wearing them cowboy boots at? And I was like, why you, I'm gonna get a skirt to wear and do a photo shoot. She's like, where are you going this summer? She's like, where are you going? She's like, stop. So I literally got the cowboy boots and I put them up. I can't wait to wear them. But you're right. You have to dig deep, and sometimes it's hard. It is super hard to sometimes look at what you need and reach out and get what you need. You know what I'm saying? And be honest in that you need it. To me, it wasn't easy dealing with some of the things that I have. I didn't even know, and Naja knows this, I didn't even know back in my 20s, I had dealt with depression. All I knew is that I went to school, I came home, I popped a Tylenol PM every night after I did my work, and I slept. On Fridays, when I got out of school, I came home, I popped the 2 Tylenol PMs and slept probably until Sunday when my grandmother told me to get up and come eat. And it wasn't years later, I didn't know, I was unaware, that a friend of mine was like, you know you was depressed, right?
Uh-huh.
You know you was dealing with depression, right? I had no clue because I wasn't even aware. I wasn't connecting to what I was going through and what I was doing. Now, if I start sleeping, I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? I have to do that inner check. I have to check in with myself and say what's going on, what's bothering you, and have that honest discussion with myself.
So what I'm getting from what you're saying is that we don't always recognize the deficit or the void or the need or what's weighing on us. And if we notice something different, just talking it is a nice first step. Just talking, saying it out loud, speaking to a friend, speaking to a family member or whomever, because it allows you to articulate and kind of like put it out there. And then once you name it, you claim it, you own it. Now what you're going to do with it situation. A lot of people who just don't. They don't know. They don't know that they're depressed. They don't know that they're hurting. It's unrecognizable, especially if you don't know yourself. I didn't
know. I really didn't. And she was a counselor, and I was just describing that time period of my life. And she looked at me and was like, you were in like a full-blown depression. I did it for a whole year. Yeah. No one said anything to me. They just let me sleep a year away. And I didn't even know I was that hurt. And I knew when I got out of it and I started living my life, that's when Naj and I met, 18 years ago, almost 18 years ago, and I was coming out of that place.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I just connected, and I never forget Dr. Takia, let me tell you, the night that she said to me, she was like, you can leave the situation you were in, that I was in. And she said to me, she's like, I got your back and your front. Leave. If you want to leave, leave.
Yeah.
A week later, I left and didn't look back.
So that's what I'm saying about our village, though, right?
Yep.
Somebody who is on task and on purpose. And this is what I'll tell my girlfriends. Sometimes you need them to be your mirror. Sometimes you can't always see the things that you're going through because you filter it through all your own expectations. And when we talk about our needs, I try to be really asset based. Like, what are the things that I'm doing really well? What are the things that will help me get greater? What are the things that I see that will be a benefit to somebody else that I can give? Like, we have this mutual aid mindset now because of COVID, right? Where people I have something for you, I can give it. And you have something for me. But that's the premise of sustainable living. We have to be reciprocal for each other. And that doesn't mean that now you got to rescue Naj from a situation. It means that as her sister, you are on task. Like, you are looking out for her in the ways that she looks out for you when you are 100% able. Right? And so when we talk about how can we get through this time, how can we look back on the things that we've gone through, I think that accountability, that honesty, like, you just freed somebody right now who's going to listen to this show and say, wait a second, let me take a stock of what it is that I was going through. But there's another way that you're going to free somebody too. There's somebody in your life who will listen to this, that saw you sleep that year away, that you have just called them out, and they know that this is an opportunity for growth. Right? So instead of saying, you know, what have I done wrong? You say to your sister, how can I be better? That's an asset-based mindset, right?
Yeah.
So if you do something to somebody that causes them harm, if I know that I was your friend during that year, I didn't know you, but if I were, and I hear you say, I was in pain and people let me slip. If I was your friend, I said, well, what was going on with me that I was so blind? I was so off point. I was so off task when it came to my sister. And I would invite myself to have a conversation with you once you granted me permission, just to make sure that you knew that maybe I didn't have the skill sets. Maybe I was battling my own depression. Maybe I think so much of you that when you were doing something, I couldn't even be there for you because it scared me.
Okay.
So that's what this time is for us. You know, some people are upside down in so many ways because this is unfamiliar. How I'm gonna feed my family if I don't work? If I go outside, I haven't been outside but twice since March. I had to go to the doctor 2 days apart. Other than that, I've been in the house. I'm asthmatic. I can't go out there like that. I'm on 2 maintenance inhalers and a rescue inhaler daily. And so what I have tried to do is I've tried to still the noise. I don't watch a lot of news. My husband is addicted to news. Because I'm on social media, I don't miss anything that's happening. But I have to do the things that are important to me, the things that I know will pour into me. And Joy, I want to say one more thing to you. You said, I used to be depressed. That's who I was before. And when I'm teaching literature, one of the ways that I'm trying not to stand up and walk around feeling my teacher vibe, but one of the things that I'm just like, I'm struggling not to do my teacher walk. But what I'm saying is that when we're trying to access the interiority of ourselves, is that one thing we have to remember is everybody we ever were still resides in us. It's just who rises to the surface in a greater way. You still have that person who was depressed inside of you. You still have that cortex, that memory, that cerebral core, that molecular core. You still know her, right? So you got to either choose to feed her, to honor her, to nurture her, to starve her, or whatever.
Well, depression is not just something you go through and then it's gone. I mean, depression is an ebb and wave. Like this, it's in cycles. Everybody has depression. It's just you to sit in it, or are you going to get yourself out of it or reach for somebody to help you out of it?
And that's the one thing that I love. You know, I see the memes and everybody. Today we all talk about depression all the time, right? Today you can discuss depression, and people are admitting that they have anxiety and depression and mental illness as a whole, because that's a whole nother, other topic, because, she knows that I had someone that was personally super close to me that suffered from mental illness, right? So I'm always checking mental state, right? And no one knows that from the age of, 20 to 26, I was scared that every time I had thoughts, my private thoughts, then I was like, is this schizophrenia?
We both have people who are actually the same role in our lives that were schizophrenic,
So, and they said in their 20s, it comes out.
Right? Yeah, it's funny because you said we hear about it now, but that's because now we have this culture of, well, it's not really with us, but it's starting to become our culture where we're talking about these things. Right now, it's okay to voice this. They've got medications, probably because they're marketing and they're capitalizing on it, but whatever. Okay, so we're going to put that out there. It's the cray is the new norm. Like, I mean, that's where we're living. But back when we were younger, this was all hush hush, you know, or was it a touch of something, or you prayed about it and you didn't say about it. You didn't say anything, you know.
Because when she was first diagnosed, I never forget, they told my grandmother to take her to the church and had a pastor pray the demons out of her. And I remember looking at my grandmother at 12 years old and was like, okay, you can pray, but we going to Buffalo General.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? That's they just looked at me as, at 12 years old, like, who is she? No. We can go to church and have her prayed over. But now let's go to Buffalo General and get her some help. Because I'm not going to, at that age, I was not willing to just bet my life on just that for her. But I'm just saying, like, so I think about those things for we're talking about, self-care. And those are some of the self-care things that we have to do during COVID, because we are, you haven't been out for what you said twice since March. What we closed down around March 13th, 14th, 15th is when we all closed down. And someone said that they parents haven't left the house since March 14th.
Mm-hmm.
We are now June 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't left the house.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't go for my walk every day, I would probably be crawling. You would think I'm Spider-Man, because I will be crawling up every inch of these walls. So these are things that we have to think about and figure out, how do you deal with this? How are the extroverts? How are our extroverts dealing with not having that human interaction on the personal, physical level every day, all day, and going out? How are we dealing with not seeing family members? I've only saw my mom twice. I normally see my mother once a month because she comes with me.
Or how are we dealing with seeing our family members every day?
Every day.
That's exactly too. I see my grandmother, who's 92. She raised me. I used to see her every single day. She drive over here. She lives a song away. That was one of the requirements when we bought our house. Turn the radio on, and wherever the song stopped, that's as far as we can move on any four sides of her, right?
Woo!
So I saw her the first time in person a week ago, and I had cried about it, and I could have gone over there, but my grandma be around too many people. About 15 members of my family had to get tested for COVID. 4 of them tested positive. But you said something, Naj, right there with the seeing people all the time that you don't necessarily see on a regular basis, because people have different schedules. I'm blessed that my husband and my children and I, we get along well, and we have enough space in our house so we can retreat. So that's a privilege, right? Mm-hmm. So what COVID has done is it reveals some class issues, some issues in healthcare management, issues with mental health, food insecurity. People are now required to not just eat more, but cook more at home, right? And it reveals all sorts of things when you can't make a meal to feed your kids, when you used to get 2 meals at school, but the way that we've been distributing meals to people still have some, our city has been amazing, but it reveals a lot of gaps in services, right? One thing my husband says all the time, and not that I advocate eating animals or elephants, but he says it's a quote in a book, how do you eat an elephant? They said 1 bite at a time. And that's how you have to handle this situation right here. There's no prescription for how to do it, period. There's no prescription for how to do it right, period. What somebody has to say in this time period, how can I do the best that I can at this moment? What I have, but at this moment, right? Yeah. So today, my best might be lying in the bed all day. I've done that several days. I'm like, okay, this looks like Takia about to be in the bed day. And I'm not one of those people, I'm not working in my bed. I'm a stone cold sleepyhead. I'm not doing all of this extra stuff. I'm not watching TV. My bed is for sleep and grown up activities, right?
Wait.
Girl, sorry.
Yeah.
So, I really, I think that in a lot of ways, social media sometimes can be very detrimental to our self-care and our wellness.
Yes.
Because we look at people and they say, oh, if you don't come out of COVID with a degree, You don't come out of COVID with a degree. I'm stressed out over here. If you don't come out of COVID better. Oh, I got my LLC during COVID. I created 3 businesses during COVID. I got a new certification. And somebody else is like, man, I've been to bed for 2 months. And so you have this all or nothing mentality, right? Where what I'm doing in this comparative mindset makes me feel as if I'm lesser than. And I relieve myself from that stress all the time. I'm like, I'm perfectly positioned to be the best Takia that I can be at any moment. There's no other Takia Graham. I don't care if a person has the same name. There is no other me in this world like me. And I'm going to do the best me at all times. I'm going to do me. And I think that if we do that, and if we do a better job at just working on the individual, then we can be a better collective or a better community member. I can have a better village vibe, as it were.
Right?
Yes.
You can't compare how you're coping and handling things and your growth with other people, because it will always leave you feeling like you're lacking or feeling insecure. And you have
to destroy.
Listen, I swore today I was going to get up, box some stuff up, clean. It's my nemesis, my bedroom. I was going to do all the stuff before I came here. And you know what? I got out of bed, I washed some clothes, and then I fell asleep and woke up late. You understand? And I have to forgive myself. Okay, tomorrow's another day. The sun's still out. I can still do some things, but you really have to forgive yourself and be, if we don't have self-forgiveness, there's no way we're going to be able to forgive someone else, which means we will be in this.
That's right.
You can't
even, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was coming back to something you said, both of you said, being in the house with people who you normally, you see for 4 hours, because you get home at 5, they get home at 6, y'all go to bed at 10. So you got 4 hours, y'all together, then you sleep and you start the day over. And I did cocktails on live Zoom in my group, my travel group. And a lady said something so poignant. She said, we turned our house into an apartment. She said, I took the master bedroom. That's my apartment. He took the bedroom downstairs. That's his apartment. She said, we meet up for dinner. And she said, sometimes he knocks on the door and be like, can I come visit you today? And she like, come home in. And then he leaves. She like, and then sometimes she go down and knock on his door. She said, because we had to build space. We had to build boundaries because we are in this space together, and we don't know when we're going to go back out into the world and regular schedules and all that. And they had to figure it out, because what another lady said to me, she was like, she's a social worker. She said, this is all she's been dealing with is people not liking each other anymore. They're coming out not liking each other. They're coming out realizing that I don't want to be around you every day, all day. And I don't want to talk to you every day, all day. And it's revealing some things. And you have to go within yourself.
Yeah, that space within yourself, because some people don't have the liberties of having one room upstairs and one room downstairs. You have to create a room in your mind. And that's that self-care that you're talking about, and how to find ways to, go in the room in your head. That's very difficult. Meditation is something you can do. I really try and tune people out or get myself. I use the internet, especially YouTube, watching Dr. Pimple Popper. That's my room, because even though we've got separate rooms, voices carry through walls, and I live with somebody who drives me crazy. What am I going to do? I can't throw them in the garbage. Like, what I'm doing with it. So I'm constantly dealing with this, but we cut you off, Doctor.
So, I love it. Y'all got to be at my graduation. May 16, 2022, Dr. Graham will be in the official building. Yes. U of R. Oh, they want all their money. So what I like now where you're going with this, because I do want to make sure that people have some tangibles in terms of self-care. So if you do have the space, and space is very political. I can go on. I just wrote a whole essay about the ways that we occupy space and what space means when you have the ability to either take up too much space or you have to shrink in the space that's provided for you. So the ability to separate and create your own zones is definitely a privilege and a luxury. If you are able to do that, do that. But far many more of us are not able to. I say, I got somebody in my bedroom. You know what I'm saying? My kids got it better than me. They got their own space. Luckily, we have a little basement spot. My husband, he don't want to be bothered. He can go sleep in the basement. I didn't know I didn't mind that. I don't mind that at all. But that's also luxury and privilege. There are people who, you know, we see more abuse that's happening right now because people are at home all day with their abusers. They're also taxed financially. And so those are things that we say, if you are able to get assistance, if you are able to reach out to a professional, if there are any things that you can do to save your life, we absolutely want you to utilize all of those procedures. One of the things that I found that people are using a lot more, of course, is teletherapy. People who have not been willing to get counseling before because of whatever reasons are now willing to access it because they don't have to go anywhere. And there is some comfort with being treated within your own home.
Yes.
And so those are the things. Say it again, sis.
But it also alleviates the loneliness that people are feeling.
That's right. That's right. Keeping your television on. I'm not a big television watcher, but sometimes people need the noise of the office. You know, if you need to go on, you know, that you can Google a playlist to create some background noise for yourself. So if you need to have, and I would bet that 911 is getting calls simply for that. 311 are getting calls simply for that because people miss that interaction. I bet you there are a lot more wrong numbers or those, what do people call it when they call you harassing you, the telemarketers? I bet people are staying on the phone a lot longer with them simply because they don't have anybody to talk to, right? And so I would suggest to people too, if you are an avid reader and you have a library card, get some audiobooks. That creates a different sort of noise because you can play that audiobook to yourself and you can engage with, oh, what? You said what to him in that book? You said what, girl? No. And then the book can serve as a companion to you. It sounds so, oh, wow, that's super lonely. Call your friends if you have friends. Everybody doesn't have a network of people that they can call on. But thanks to the internet, we have a lot of group rooms that people can join and groups and spaces that are available for people that live alone or people who might not have a companion group that they can reach out to. I like sleep. I think that sleep is one of the greatest things, one of the greatest gifts from nature that we don't always take advantage of. That there's a shame in sleeping. People are always worried about me. Do you get enough sleep? And we laugh. I'm like, my family's like, her? She sleep. I will sleep in the middle of a sentence. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm not compromising my sleep at any moment. And I think that more of us need to be encouraged to sleep and to rest. You know, just to stop and to push pause and really take stock of who we are.
And reset. Like, I love what you said, sleep, because everybody know I'm in bed normally at 9 o'clock at night. Yes, I'm also a very early riser, but you call me normally at the 9:30. I ain't hear it. My phone is always on silent. I am not a doctor, lawyer, policeman, bail bondsman. There's no point in you calling me at 12 o'clock because I really didn't hear the phone because I'm asleep. But it's just, I'm going to bed. And now I'm up at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm just chilling, like, hey, yeah, that's not normal for me. And I love that you have to, I've been calling this time rest and reset. People can reset. They can get the rest that's been running, like you doing your doctorate. You also teaching. You also a mother. You also a wife. Like, this is the time for you to get 8 hours, 10 hours of sleep to just,
I had to say, I always got sleep though. That's that prioritizing. I've never been one to follow along with the trends of I don't sleep, I just hustle. And what I want people to realize is, you said earlier, like apologizing to yourself. We need to pay ourselves apologies, but we also need to be more expansive in our own abilities going forward. So what I mean by that is, if I know in my past life I was not as kind as I could have been, and once I apologize and say, look, Takia, baby, I'm sorry that I did not rest, I did not sleep enough. And my next ideation of myself, what I'll say going forward, affirmations are very good too. I recognize that you do better when you have 8 hours of sleep. Mm-hmm. It is my intention to create an environment that encourages me resting. So we're not walking in a space of negativity or negation. We're walking in a space of fulfillment. And that's I believe in manifestation. I believe, and I know you can't manifest everything, but I tell people all the time, I am already where I want to be. Every moment, exactly where I am, even in this COVID upside downness, even when I'm fraught with anxiety, I'm fraught with fear and insecurity, that's the season. And it's not all day, every day. But if we start talking to people, we start magnifying those negative emotions. We start saying, oh, I always, and I say, sis, you always? Well, when I talked to you yesterday, you was cackling like a hyena. Oh, I was? Yeah. You was just on Facebook writing a novel about how you so sad and depressed because you was trying to buy into this idea that COVID has made everybody break down. There are some people who are thriving. There are some people who don't have the stress of worrying about getting gas money to do their jobs. Right. There are some people that don't have to worry about going into jobs where there are toxic coworkers. There are some people who can get rest right now.
And that's where, and I love that you said that because I'm enjoying myself.
Well, also your words are very specific and divisive. Like, yes, I intend. So the intent, it's flexible, right?
Yeah.
Flexible. So you have some flexibility. So you don't have to be so hard on yourself. So it doesn't have to be so rigid. You understand? And I love that because you're still saying those words, speaking those words of affirmation, but you're also allowing yourself leeway. You know.
So let's talk about also this last week.
Oh, okay. I'm ready.
Yeah, ready?
You know, I've been on Facebook smoking them up though.
Can I finish my last thought on that last thing we were talking about?
Yes.
I want to say, listen, everybody's talking about resetting. You don't have to reset. Real talk. If for whatever reason you feel like things are going well with you, don't feel the pressure to have to reset or reinvent.
Talk about it.
If you're in space.
You're right.
Because you said, Takia, that, you know, you like where you're at. Not everybody has to reset. You know, I was feeling anxiety about that. And I was feeling like, well, what's wrong with me? Now, there's some things I need to get together because I'm
right
in progress. But I don't feel like I need to reset. Like, I know who I am. You know, I don't feel like I need to reset. But I'm speaking to somebody because not everyone has to reset or reinvent. You know,
no, that's what we're saying here. That's it on the money. Like, we have all these absolutes and these platitudes. We get on social media and we talk to our friends and we buy into these things that are significant lifestyle changes as if they are slogans and if they don't mean anything. Oh, I'm about to be out here living my best life. Well, what does that mean? What does living your best life mean? And because I teach language, I'm always interested in language specificity. I'm not reckless with my words. I want to be very specific. What does your best life mean? What does that look like for you? If you are interested in manifesting something greater or getting from here to there, how does that journey represent itself? How does it show up for you in everyday life? And then people would tend to be a lot more specific about the things that they're calling in to their available space.
And I love that because I have, the older I get, I have an issue with words, right? When people say, I didn't mean that, you know, if you come on and say, I hate the color black or, you know, whatever. And when I address it, then it's no, I didn't mean it that way. I meant it. No, you're an adult. We know we have command of the English language. We know what words mean. We're not a 2, 3, 4, 5, 10-year-old that's learning the English language, that's learning, you know, the different meaning of words. So when we use stuff, we have to be careful because we know what that word meant. So I have a big, that's like one of my pet peeves. It keeps getting worse and worse the older I get. Cause I'm like, you be careful. And even myself, I have to be careful with what I say because I don't want anyone to feel like they have to or step into my space that I occupy because this is how I think for me and what's best for me.
Let me touch on that real quick and make it plain for the people. So I do a lot of work with women and making sure that when we talk about manifesting our lives and making sure that we're walking in our own truth, that we are very careful and specific about the ways that we call forth what we consider to be our blessings or our greater self. So one woman says to me, oh, I wish I were the same weight that I was when I was 18. I said, okay. I said, well, did you have your children? She was like, no. I said, okay, now imagine a scenario that right now in this present life that all of your children die and you are so grief stricken that you lose all the weight and you are now back to the size that you were at 18. You got to be careful about how you set your intentions. There are some things that you want from that 18-year-old body. You can say that I would wish that I had a body that was healthier. I wish that I had a body that was stronger. I wish that I had a body that represented the work that I do to get it to a size that's acceptable to me, that is not dependent on societal norms, right? You can. So, you know, I tell you, even with I have a lit circle. And sis, you know, I tell people we're going to get free, but we're not going to die trying. We have to be very careful about the things that we call forth for ourselves. And somebody's listening like, oh, that's an extreme example. It happens every day. There is power in the tongue. Somebody else will say, I wish I had more free time. Then they get laid off because of COVID. Now you got that free time. Now you're crying because you ain't got no job, no income. We have to be very, very careful about the stuff that we say. We have more power, particularly when it comes to ourselves. And that's not hippy dippy trippy. You're talking to somebody that has buried 8 family members in the past 2.5 years. You're talking to somebody that had to look at 3 of her nephews and help their parents identify their bodies. We lost 2 nephews in 1 year from 1 sister, right? Joy, you know this. So You're not talking about somebody with a 62-year-old mother who's still fighting her drug addiction. You're not talking to somebody who don't know. You're talking to somebody who makes a commitment in every moment to be my greatest self. And greatest don't mean that I'm great. It don't mean even that I'm good. It means that I am doing my 100% best. And my 100% best might only be 3% of my capacity.
Right. It's okay. Because at that,
but in all moments, I'm showing up, right? I'm showing up for myself.
And come on, sis. I'm big on. Show up. You show up, and anything is possible because you showed up and you came. You may, like you said, you may only have 3% to give, but that 3% could get filled up, and that 3% can grow to 30%, to 60%.
But I got you, sis.
You know what?
And yes. I'm not by myself in this world. I'm not just my sister's keeper. I am my sister.
Yeah, if that 3% is what you have to give, then that 3% is enough, because your 3% is equal with my 60%. And now 3%. And that's what she's talking about. Yeah, we have to be. It's okay not to be okay. And if my 100% reads like 5, oh well.
Listen, and that's the thing. And we have to be around people that accept us who we are. I don't have, listen, I seen y'all. I know y'all fine as all frog hair. You hear me? I could have did my Takia thing. This is my Takia thing. I said, they got enough. We here. We here. And I think that so many times we get caught up in trying to be something for somebody else that's not authentic. I am 47 years old, which is so funny because I drive my kids crazy. Normally, I'm almost 50, and I have forgotten how old I was turning. My birthday was just a couple of weeks ago. They're like, yep, here you go. You're 50 years old. I was like, okay. But if I can't be 47 and be, as I call, grown for real, then I've done myself a disservice. If I can't be honest, if I can't be truthful, if Joy got to come over to my house and she my sis, and I say, oh, wait, sis, you can't come over. I got to clean up. Something wrong with that. If I say, sis, you better step over this pile of clothes right here, or you take that pile in the basement and you go ahead and wash some clothes when you get here. This your house too. But we don't always have that collective mindset. And people think that that's deficit-minded thinking. You know, that's asset-based thinking. But all my resources are available to my sisters. My sisters are available to me. And Joy, you started asking about this past week. I think what this past week has shown us is that we have a great capacity for self-awareness in the Black community. We don't need anybody else to say how valuable we are. We have to understand that Black lives matter.
Right.
In my equity work, I'm trying not to stand up. In my equity work, I tell people when they hire me, I'm not here to change your hearts and minds. I'm here to change your behavior. And I think that so many times when we get to places like this, we forget that we've already seen this. People say, oh, these are the last days. That's such disrespect to enslavement. It's such disrespect to Jim Crow. Because what we say is that when we're going through it now, we are some sort of special class of protected Blacks that we can't have it any worse than our ancestors have had it. Who are we? Who am I that I can't suffer? So what we see in what has happened in this past week, we see a manifestation of the blood in America's soil. And so what Black people have to do, and Joy, you see it on my Facebook page, I always say, good morning, beautiful Black people. I'm talking to Black people. And my white friends like, and they keep on keeping on. What I want people to get from this the past week, particularly when it comes to self-care, is that you cannot look externally for any validation. You have to know that Blackness means beautiful in every iteration for you. And if you are waiting for white people to co-sign that, or other Black people to co-sign that, you are doing yourself a disservice. We need people to be anti-racist, period. You can't be halfway nothing. You can't be soft in this. But Black people, you will free yourselves from colonial-minded thinking if you are able to recognize that you are beautiful and you are whole, period.
Yes.
Black Lives Matter.
Woo! And that's the one thing that I said today. No one is coming to rescue us. No one is coming to validate who we are. We can and we have to me, because I love us. I love being Black. Naj just did a thing yesterday. I love it. She was like, she Black until you die?
My last breath.
I'm Black. I'm here. You know, dear God, I hear.
Okay, Celie. Okay. I may be Black, I may be ugly, but I'm here.
I'm here, right? I'm here, right? So, and that's what I'm like. I'm like, we have to say we're here. We are here in this moment. We are good. We can have each other's back. We can help each other. We can build. We are powerful beyond measure, like powerful. I can name so many things that we are, right? And I'm like, can we finally recognize it?
Well, listen, that's work to be done, though. You know, this revolution is going to struggle. It's going to be long because
that's right.
Black people don't recognize our own self-worth. We talk about you cannot be true to the cause if you are not true to self. Understand? So that's part of the work we have to do. And if we're in the know, you know yourself, we all know ourselves, and we spread that and we teach that, then they will be able to be self-empowered first and then step out in their Blackness and understand that Black is the beginning and the end. Black is strong. Black is beautiful. But you can't say that with conviction and be willing to go to the ends of the earth with that if you don't believe it in yourself.
That's right. And because we are in America and we've been educated in this colonial-minded system, we have to free ourselves from the mindset of white supremacy. And I tell people this all the time. I love being Black. I married a Black man who loves Black people. We have raised 3 Black strong children. But every single day, I have to work on not being anti-Black because of the country that I am in. If you watch television long enough, you will see an image that underscores white supremacy. You can go to any institution here. I work in higher ed. I can say, oh, I want to do whatever. I make a commitment. All my classes look like Black lit. I love Shakespeare, but I had to make the commitment. I'm not teaching Shakespeare anymore. I have to make the commitment to identify myself as a Black person. I have a category. There are Black people. There are non-Black people of color. I never conflate the two. I'm not a person of color. I'm a Black person. That when I say that I am Black, that outlines my politics. But all that being said, I think that there are many of us who need to rest. I had people who are asking me that I watched the video. Nope, never watched the video. Nope, I didn't watch The Black Man and the Bird Lady. Didn't watch that either. I can get enough updates and synopsis from Facebook. I don't need to subject myself because that becomes trauma porn. I become addicted to, crying over and over again. And we remember those things. And they come out in the way that we cook. They come out in the way that we deal with our children. They come out in the way that we do, the way we treat ourselves, right? And so I'm not subjecting myself to that. I can know, because I've seen this before. There is nothing about what happened with George Floyd that we haven't already seen over. We could just take it back to enslavement. We've already seen in this show. So I think that that's another thing that we can do as far as self-care, to know our limits and set some boundaries on information, because you can be informational overload, and that whole epigenetics, when we start talking about the way that our DNA is shifted, particularly through trauma, we have to be very mindful of the things that we put inside of our body that are not food.
Right.
I don't watch a lot of things. So go ahead, Naj.
Well, I was just going to say, I think the videos that we're seeing, the reason why they're going viral is because it's fallen into the hands of white people. They're the ones who need to see it. They're the ones who need to get sick. They're the ones whose DNA, their genetic code needs to change, because we are suffering oppression, not only at their hands, but they're the ones that are in control at this time being. And even then, you have to limit that, because then they become indifferent. Then they become desensitized, you know. But you're right, because I had to tell my daughters, stop watching it. Just stop.
Right. And I mean, because the truth of it is what do you gain from seeing it? Just more anger. You know, if I come to you and I say a Black man was killed today by the police, that's all the information you need. My sister, who just lost another child in January, called me and she said, sis, I saw it. I said, why did you watch a video? I didn't know it was going to end like that. I mean, I know they said he died, but I said, sister, you know they said the man died, and you know that they said the man died at the hands of these police officers. What information were you going to get from that? Now, on top of the trauma that you've already been experiencing, now you're coded your spirit with something that you can't even control or deal with.
We have to be very careful.
So we have to know. We have to be very careful about what we, and that's why I tell people too, that particularly folks who meditate and pray, you understand that these things can be a portal in the ways that you open yourself up in order to be receptive to like hypnosis, to prayer. You have to go into a zone to be susceptible to any sort of meditation. You have to be able to separate yourself from the physical realm, right? And so if you can do that with ease, you know that when you are watching these things, that they haven't been able to get into those pinholes in your psyche, and they stay there because all of that stuff is not going to come out. You can't poop it out, can't pee it out, can't vomit it out.
No,
I have vowed, it's certain movies that everyone has been going to see, and they were like, well, did you see it? No. I never
I saw us.
When my mother and I made me watch Roots. I sat there, I watched Roots, I walked away so angry, and I looked at them like, why would you make me watch this? This has me so angry. And I knew then, my mother and I just had a conversation about Imitation of Life.
Which version?
Right? Lana Turner, don't play, don't.
Oh, no, this too. The first one that was in the 1920s is actually better, I think.
It is. So, we talked about it, and my mom was like, I haven't seen it in a couple of years. I said, Mommy, I watched it as a kid. I can't. I was like, I cannot see that white carriage pull up and she runs after it. That right there will take me to a whole nother mental state. So you know what? I won't watch that movie again. And I have to protect myself, because I am a person, if you embarrass someone in a movie, I feel it, and I feel like you just embarrassed me. Okay, so if I know if you can embarrass me and it wasn't even me, seeing that video is gonna have me feeling like he had his knee on my neck. So I'm not even watching. I don't watch it. I don't watch any of the videos. Like you saying, I know what happened. I know the end of the story. He died. Black man, police officer, dead. That's the story. I don't need to see the actual act to know that he died. I don't need to see any, I didn't watch the Birdman either. White woman on the phone, call the police. I just heard the part where she said, I'm going to call and say it's a black man trying to do.
I saw
like 1 plus, for me, it continues to be 1 plus 1 equals 2. I don't need it.
I would say that black males need to watch that, because she took this to another level, and somebody like my son, who is straight and narrow and who went to school in the suburbs, and kids who are now adults grow up with Disney Channel and Nickelodeon, think everything's hunky-dory and it's all kumbaya, and it's not. Black kids forget they're black. They forget that you could be somebody who is doing absolutely nothing wrong and be attacked. And it doesn't have to be a physical attack, and your attackers don't necessarily look like police. That woman took it to another level. Theatrics and everything, and it was disgusting. But they need to see it. They need to understand that this also can be you, and this is also what racism looks like. And I had my son watch it. He was so pissed, but he needed to see that reality. It doesn't always look the same. That was much more detrimental to me than the police, because that's what you deal with daily. Don't even know it, because some of these kids don't even realize that they're dealing with racism. I spoke about that. My students didn't know that people were talking to them and treating them a certain way because of their ethnicity or their color. They didn't get it. They didn't understand that they were experiencing racism. That's sad. And that
racial microaggressions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Mm-hmm. This week, I put up on Facebook, I was like, I'm not discussing it. I'm not discussing the video. If we're going to have a conversation about oppression, we're going to have a conversation about systemic racism, if we're going to have a conversation about collective, money, how we're going to be a collective community and come together. If we're going to have those conversations, then let's have those conversations. But I'm not discussing looting. I'm not discussing any of those things. If we're going to have a conversation, let's have a conversation. Otherwise, I'm not going to even entertain, that part of it, because we, like you're saying, we've seen it since slavery. We've seen it since we learned about Jim Crow, and everything else. And I was just watching Trevor Noah today, and he was like, he tells people all the time, he's like, you want to know what's going on? He's like, travel the world. Go see what's going on around you. Go learn some things, because you when you go places that you don't speak the language, he said, you got to go to a country where you don't speak their language and be the minority and realize how, you can be treated. And too many times I'm like, I don't need this. I let me go this way. And that's my self-care. I can empathize. I'm gonna get upset that someone just killed another black man, another unarmed black man. But then you saw a white man that he did what, from college, killed someone, and then went to another place and killed someone and was on a spree for 5 days, and they brought him in alive. Like, you can bring him in alive.
But look at that, sis, though. Even as much as you're committed to not talking about that, we're in a show talking about self-care, and it's still a seeped in. Yeah, it's still a seeped in. You're still giving it airtime, right? So even those are the things that if this were my particular one-on-one thing, I would direct you. I say, okay, now what do you do with that? So you got to get it out. So even the best of us who are in tune with ourselves, and when you say it, here you are, right? We hear, and I'm ready to jump in, like, yeah. And I'm thinking, like, this is our space. This is village vibe. This is what we have to stop giving space. And that doesn't mean we're unaware. It doesn't mean that we don't know what's happening in the world. It means that there have to be some spaces where those conversations simply cannot permeate, even if it's just 20 minutes a day. Right. Even if it's just for this particular time, because in this time that we could be talking about Black people, we've already given space to all these different murders. We already went through colonialism. We done went through enslavement. We done went around the world. We done came back, and now we done got mad at some white people again. In a space that we have 3 beautiful Black women, and we've allowed them to permeate our space. And that's what this past week is a reminder of, is that we always have to be ever vigilant about Black minds, because a Black woman gets killed just as much as a Black man. Black children get killed at high rates too. So what do? Radical self-care is already in the prescription of so many of the books that we have. I'm a big book lover. I'm trying to get my bookstore open, Black bookstore coming to Rochester, New York. But one of the things, Nikki Giovanni told us, Black love is Black wealth. And we think that Black love means romantic love. But the love that I have for my children, the love that I have for my sisters and brothers, whether they're biological or fictive kinship, those are the things that fuel me. The love that I have for my extended family, the love I have for my students, those are the things that's the most radical self-care that you can have. When you say, I will love myself. I said this on Facebook, it had like 120 something shares. I'm not ever throwing Black people away. Right. And I don't want to be the college educated, because we the easy Black people to love. But we talking about people who are, this is Pride Month, people who are gay, people who are trans, people who are incarcerated, people who are differently able, people who have a criminal record, people who on welfare, people who are, these are not castaways. They don't stand in opposition of people who are employed at all. If you love Black people, you love Black people, the period and the right? Period. We have to be consistent. And when we see people who are talking about Blackness as if it is something that needs to be tamped out, or something that is ugly, or something that is a lack, I have several poems about Black folks. And I always talk about my Black being beautiful. It's about sky high afros. It's obsidian and tar. It's sable noir. It's all of the things that we can imagine ourselves to be. It's not an absence of anything. It is the presence of everything. There is nothing in this world that has not been influenced by Blackness. We are the original people, and we have to tell our children that over and over again. And we cannot tell them that simply because of the things that have happened over the last week. We have to make a commitment to say that Black Lives Matter every moment, even when somebody is being recognized in a positive manner. Black lives can't just matter when somebody is killed. And I know the movement is started in response to police brutality. I get that, but we have to use it.
White person kills us. Black, you're going right to where I was going. Black Lives Matter. We have to, you talk about radical self-love. We've got to teach it. We have to make loving each other popular. We have to make that a part of our culture. It cannot be taboo because we have to stop killing ourselves.
I got to push back on that just a little bit though, because when we talk about Black Lives Matter, we want to make sure that we don't conflate the things. We talk about police brutality. Police are sworn officers, right? Yeah. They have a different level than what people have deemed. And you haven't said it, black on black crime. That's proximal crime. I have 2 sons. I have 5 brothers, and a lot of my brothers have been locked up. My sons have not. But what I'm saying that for is you are absolutely right. But it's not just so we'll stop killing each other, because that's the deficit. The Black love is so that we will always amplify each other. The killing is a symptom. The killing is a symptom. So we have Black people who can do a lot of damage to each other in other ways. How can I support you all? So my radical Black self-care plan is in order, because most Black people are not killing Black people. I don't know a single Black person that killed another Black person, if I'm honest. And I know I got 1,600 Facebook friends, and I just found out today when I was trying to unfriend people, and nobody did nothing to me. I'm like, I'm about to unfriend people. Everybody talking about Black lives, right? About 1,400, no, if I have 1,600, about 1,550 of my friends are Black. I don't know a single person who has killed another Black person. And most of us don't. Now, I know people who've been killed by other Black people, but I don't know anybody who has actually killed another Black person. So we have to be mindful that we cannot inject that mindset. We still run the numbers. White people kill more people than anybody. White people will kill you up in the middle of the doggone day. But Black people, we have to hold ourselves to a greater standard. You are right. We are not savages. Yeah. We are not inhumane. And I tell people this, and this might be very radical. I tell it in my shows, and I say it whenever somebody hired me. You know that Black people are not savages simply by the fact that you see white people.
Thank you.
During enslavement, Black people were in charge of white people's food, their children, their land. If they wanted to kill white people, they could have.
Right.
But you have to be a certain type of individual. There has to be something in you, right? So, when I look at y'all and when I look at this movement, I just want people to recognize is that for me, it takes more energy for me to do harm to my siblings. And my siblings are everybody that's from the diaspora. Yeah. So my role as a committed member of the Black community is I see my sisters have Village Vibez together. They have their independent projects. How can I, as a member of the Black community, support them in their goal? Because I ain't gonna kill y'all. That's not even on my mindset. How can I educate? How can I amplify what y'all doing? How can I amplify what my other sister over here doing, my brother over here is doing? How can we as Black people be always greater than white people? How can we show that we are the greatest cultural keepers and connoisseurs? How can we show that we are the greatest purveyors of humanity? Like, we are the absolute best. And I say this, and my husband's like, I don't know why people hire you to do this. I'm like, Black people vetted everything.
Yes, and they know it.
We invented air. But we got to know it, which is what you were saying. We got to know it. We have got to be responsible for that knowledge.
And we have to share it. We have to share it. Like, and I think, and I tell people. Like,
wait, sis, what about time? I feel like we done went over time. We went over time?
Yeah, we gonna finish up. So I feel like so it's like, I feel like we in a shift, a cultural shift within ourselves. And I'm hoping that we walk not taller, but we can start getting people, for those that are the Takias or the Naj, me, who already love Black people and love being Black, right? To get the people that don't love themselves, that don't feel that love coming from us, that we can get them to feel it and get them to love themselves. You
I think
understand?
that
Like,
we do. You know what, sis? I want to say this. I'm sorry for cutting you off,
no.
but I want to say that over this past week, I've gotten emails. I got this gift from my sister. They quilt. I got this in a gift in the mail today, and it's a wall hanging. I'm about to hang it up.
Please do.
But she sent me a letter and she said, sis, you love us so much and you always working on behalf of us. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm the best thing that I have is people knowing how much I love Black people, right? And even just simply in the face, I got somebody that sent me some money, a white woman. She was like, here go money. And I said, this for me? I think you made a mistake. She was like, no. I said, okay. And she's like, it's for you. I said, okay. You know what I did, Joy? I give it away. I do $1 ask. Now, as you don't know this, but on Facebook, I say, anybody got $1? And I end up getting hundreds of dollars and I find Black people to give it to. And I tell the people, this is what we did. I don't take any pictures. I say, I'm only really accountable for you all because this is what we can do. So I think that in this season, that we'll have more Black people who love each other. They just don't know how to translate that love. And the pain comes out into, killing people who look like us. The pain comes out into other ways that are harmful. But there are far more ways that Black people take care of each other. Joy, you came to my house with a love basket. You know what I'm saying? You were texting me talking about what kind of wine you like, and me being dense. I was like, I don't drink wine. Thanks, sis. Hours later, I was like, wait a minute, were you trying to wine fairy me? Sis, I drink juice. He was like, I said, you can bring my juice over. And we had to talk, and and you came over here and we had such a great pleasure. And I got to tell the people, I was the one that told her, if you're going to ferry the people, you're going to put a tutu on. Like, I don't want to see you come up in here in none of your rainbow pants. I want the full fairy ensemble. But that's a way that, and it had nothing to do with the fact that you brought me material things. It was the fact that you thought something of me, and the things that were in the package were so beneficial. There were things that I could use for actual self-care, but you gave me some energy that I can tap into over and over again. I said, dang. And so if I'm going through something, I'm going to remember that. I'm going to reach out, like, sis, I'm struggling. Are you able to be of some emotional use? Because we got to check in with our friends and make sure that they can do emotional labor. We can't be like, girl, Naj, I know we talk every day, girl. He says, like, wait a minute, Naj going through her own thing. Let me check in, sis. What you doing? What you up to? You got a minute or two? I'm going through something right now. I just want to make sure I can talk to you about it because I know you might be going through your own stuff. Okay, all right, then I can. All right, girl, let me tell you what happened.
And that's what I love. I love loving on Black. I love being Black. I love loving on us. I love it. And everything I do is about us. I want people to see us. And I say that all the time. Like, that's the whole purpose of taking my small groups is to show the world who we are. I don't want you to see us from social media. I don't want you to tell me who we are from a movie. I want you to see us so you like, wait a minute. What I saw on social media, what I saw in the movie, what I saw or what I was told is not who you are. Because I need everyone to see. I want everyone to see how beautiful we are. Because I think we the damn capital.
And to teach us who we are, because some of the people that we had on groups didn't know what was up. They were totally shocked. They felt solid afterwards. The world needs to see us, and we need to see ourselves in the world.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
And that's what, that's the whole point. And, at first I was told, do you want to just have just Black people? And do you want to just, that's what I'm doing. I need us. I want to love on us, and I want the world to see us, and I want to meet other people, and I want to love on them. And I have met some of the most beautiful ladies and guys from around this country because of this love I have. And if you say I'm isolating, oh well. If you say I'm not inclusive, oh well, because guess what? I think we need to be included more. I want to include us, and for me, it's about us. It's about looking at people who look like me. I want to see me, and I want to see my beauty in everything. When I look at Naj, I'm like, damn, she's fine. When I look at, Takia, I'm like, hey, boo, especially with, that red hair, because, that's my favorite color. I'm just saying.
But y'all look me up because I usually am fine, so she'll tell y'all.
Whatever, you always funny. So
I'm okay.
Whatever, and so that's where we came with this as far as just talking about the self-care of loving us and loving ourselves as individuals, loving ourselves as a culture and as a community, just loving. That's where, you know, I came into this thinking and feeling about it. Naj?
I would say, because I feel like we're wrapping up, just take the time. I mean, you'd write down a recipe for a better you. Write down the steps of how you're going to get to know yourself, how you can really practice self-care and self-love, and what that looks like for you. If you don't know, then do some research. Look at how other people are moving. I'm not saying you have to copy them, but get ideas. Really put the time in, study you, learn you, so that you can pour into yourself, so that you can be strong enough to then spread that to the children and your friends. Meditate if you have to, whatever need be. Just take the time to find out what it is you truly need, and find the resources. And if you can't do it yourself, call on your friends. But really, I'm not gonna say a reset, but definitely reinvest in yourself. Invest in you.
Takia, Dr. Graham?
Is there a question? I'm all caught up.
No.
I'm like, like what? I do want to tell people in terms of, you know, self-care and really making it plain. I think that the best thing that you can do in any crisis, any pandemic, in any moment, is always to show up for yourself in the ways that you can. I think that Black people in particular have to love ourselves more. Love is always the answer. It's a question. It's a superpower. It's a noun. It's an adverb. It's an action word. It's a verb. I think that we have to, you know, learn as much as we can about people. If you've grown up in a space and you don't know a lot about Black folks, you can go to Google University. They don't have any requirements in terms of who they accept. It's free. It's available for the price of the internet. You can go to the library. If you are not able, most libraries are closed, you can take your library card and borrow ebooks and audiobooks online. For those of us who are in Monroe County, you can download the Libby app, and you can download, if you live in the city of Rochester, the Hoopla app. I swear I'm a librarian, y'all. Nobody even asked me this. I will put a book out in any minute. If you go through a tour around my house, I have at least 1,000 books on different shelves here. I just really encourage Black people to learn as much as you can about other people, so you'll know the counter narrative. But if you start with Black is beautiful, that's the foundation, the only story. So if you hear something negative, that becomes the counter narrative. You have to normalize Blackness. You have to love Black people in every moment. Challenge yourself when you are doing anything that represents a colonized mind or any anti-Black antics or mindsets. You have to make sure that you are pouring into Black organizations. You have to make sure that you are pouring into Black children, uphold Black marriages. We don't create any divisions in sort of socioeconomic ways, any medical hierarchies or anything based on address, whether you live in the suburbs or you live in the city, whether you live in an apartment, whether you live in a house that you own or that you rent, or maybe you are boarding, or maybe even staying in a shelter. There is space for all Black people, always, in every space. And the only time we put all in the Black Lives Matter is when we say all Black lives matter. Thank you all. SustainableLiving.com.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining in to Village Vibes.
Let's tell them where they can find us. They can find us at One Village Vibes on
Instagram, and
the number one
on Facebook. And we come Friday, drum roll, come Friday, we have invested how many hours?
Countless.
In creating our own website.
Finally, yes.
Okay.
Finally. Sorry.
Finally.
Sorry, y'all. I didn't mean to say that, but truly, finally.
Yes, finally. And thank you. Shout out to Brandon Beard for answering every text message and call every day of every step of the way of helping us build this website that we are going live with on Friday. Friday. It is Village Vibes, VIBEZ, villagevibes.com. Will drop live Friday. Okay? We are the village. It takes a village.
Thank you both. Thank y'all for having me here. Sorry we went over time.
We are bringing the village to your backyard.
That's right.
Sustainable living.
Yes.
AJ Excursions.
Freaking fresh.
Hey. Live and in color right here. Village Vibes. Thank you all.
I thank you all. We'll see y'all soon. Peace and love.
Peace and love, good people.